We don't realise sometimes in our part of the world that actually going to a polling station, casting a ballot, is a very, very brave act.
We know that in electoral processes, by the sheer dynamic that takes place, the change in power, the interests that are at play, there is a high likelihood of violence coming.
Might not prevent violence, but you might be able to deal with it better, to manage it better, and to mitigate or minimize as much as you can the effects.
Not voting oftentimes has no consequences at all. Voting can have major consequences.
We have problems. Somebody comes with money, he tells you, I give you food and you vote for me. People just vote, you know. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad or anything. If people are hungry, you can manipulate them the way you want.
Porque hay unos partidos que intentan comprar los votos. Esto no es política. Por lo cual la gente, estoy hablando de 85 millones de egipcios, deben entender exactamente por qué voy a dar mi voto a este partido y que sí o por qué no.
Kenya had its own share of post-election violence after the elections in 2007.
We have seen that there are a number of countries where maybe we have missed windows of opportunity in terms of conflict prevention while doing electoral assistance, and there are ways to do it. We only need to be told how to do it.
The European Commission and United Nations Development Programme have created a partnership on electoral assistance, which provides supports to countries all over the world. The need to understand the links between elections, violence, and conflict preventions is key to preventing electoral violence. For that reason, the EC-UNDP partnership gathered top international experts in the field of electoral assistance and conflict prevention from the EU, UN, and partner country electoral management bodies in the Montjuic Castle in Barcelona in order to address the challenges and identify solutions.
Electoral violence is a significant threat to the instrumentality of using elections to determine governance for self-determination. So I think it is a threat it's a significant enough threat that there needs to be this kind of focus and study and action taken to prevent this violence. Of at least 20% of elections that are often measured possess some sort of violence or conflict.
Oftentimes we see violent events erupting out of a frustration and a suspicion on the behalf of marginalised groups in society that something is going wrong with the electoral process and that they're being excluded from the information sources as well. They don't know what's happening, they look at an elections commission not giving information, and this frustration can end up on the streets.
The registration of voters, that it's a very sensitive electoral operation that we don't take into account very much, but in fact it really does have a high risk of electoral violence, of generating electoral violence.
In some parts of the world, elections become a zero-sum game. There's winners and there's losers, and there's only one winner and only one loser. And if you lose, you're excluded from all the power, and if you win, you have absolute power.
Intimidation. And you want to ensure that people know that the vote is secret. If people are assured that the vote is secret, then they cannot be intimidated so easily. So in many cases, the UN has decided to opt for counting of the votes in a regional or central manner, so that you cannot really see what the results are at the local level.
Observation nowadays is becoming a very sophisticated instrument. So there is certainly great potential in detecting qualitative indicators of violence.
The recent cases of Ivory Coast or Kenya, where thousands of people died after elections, have been intensively studied and discussed.
Notre pays a traversé une grave crise depuis pratiquement 10 ans et nous avons réussi à tenir les élections présidentielles au mois d'octobre-novembre 2010. Nous avons mis en place une commission électorale consensuelle, tout le monde était impliqué. Elles se sont bien déroulées. Malheureusement, il y a eu une grave crise post-électorale par le fait que les résultats du scrutin n'ont pas été acceptés par un des candidats. Résultats proclamés par la CEI, donc la commission qui a organisé les élections, résultats certifiés par l'ONU.
But on election day, the certification role was to, in case of contestation, certify the electoral results. This was a conflict prevention mechanism, and that turned out to be very useful. The certification was based on every single result of every single polling station. The ONUC received a copy of every single polling station, and based on that, they were able to give the exact and actual result of the election.
Évidemment, le vainqueur n'a pas accepté, bien entendu, de perdre ces élections et qui s'est malheureusement terminé par une guerre. Ça a vraiment été la fausse note, la note dramatique de ces élections, je le répète, qui ont été préparées pendant de longues années.
Le jour du vote, c'est une fraude massive en faveur du candidat du parti au pouvoir. Bourrage d'urnes, intimidation d'électeurs. L'institution électorale haïtienne, aidée de la communauté internationale, a fait pas mal d'efforts depuis 2005. Mais il faut prendre en considération les facteurs exogènes au système électoral haïtien, c'est-à-dire la faiblesse des autres institutions de l'État. La violence qu'on a connue en Haïti, on l'a connue le jour de la proclamation des résultats, le 7 décembre.
We have a new constitution. We are establishing a new permanent electoral body. We are doing security sector reforms. There's a lot of judicial reforms are also ongoing. We have a new Chief Justice. We have a new Supreme Court. So these reforms are all meant at trying to address the problems which we encountered in Kenya in 2007 and to make sure that the country doesn't repeat again what happened to us and what kind of lessons we have learned.
I had like friends who were really in the politics side. They were just like, because in Kenya when we have the elections, the politics guys really take advantage of the young people and they use them to do their campaign and all that. There were some guys who were really on it. They were really working on the name of these big guys, and some of them got injured, and I have a friend that I heard that he died.
Yeah, once the new body is established, the permanent commission, we have what's called the political parties liaison committee, which brings together all political parties in Kenya and the electoral commission to work together to resolve disputes arising between the political parties so that issues are resolved early enough before they escalate into a bigger problem.
Special attention was dedicated to discuss the recent developments and democratic demands in some Arabic countries, in particular Tunisia and Egypt.
El país lleva muchos años que no sabe lo que es la democracia, no está preparado para una democracia y un cambio pues radical con poco tiempo. Entonces le hace falta tiempo para poder adaptarse y poder saber cómo hay que buscar y que conseguir una democracia completa. Se debería enseñar al pueblo tunecino cómo se debe hacer unas elecciones, explicarles cómo aceptar una derrota, el que realmente sale derrotado, cómo tienen que votar, de qué forma pueden aceptar las reglas del juego y que todo el mundo tiene que participar. Todo el mundo tiene derecho a participar siempre que sea pacífico y siempre que busca los votos de una forma legal y de una forma pues abierta para todo el mundo sin obligar a este que tiene que votar de una forma o de votar de otra.
Desde el año 81 que nos falta mucha cultura política. Desde que estaba Mubarak en el poder no hemos sabido qué es la política, no sabemos qué es practicar política, el lema, hacer marketing político, votar, elegir tu partido. Nos hace falta un tiempo de transición. Debemos mandar muchísima ayuda a países como Egipto, que acaba de crecer, necesita democracia y es un niño en el tema político, por lo cual desde aquí tenemos que enviar a técnicos a estos partidos que acaban de nacer para enseñarles exactamente cómo hacer una política de verdad.
Ces dernières années, on a pu observer que de nombreuses élections qui avaient été très bien menées se sont terminées dans un climat de violence, parfois même dans un bain de sang, comme on l'a vu récemment en Côte d'Ivoire. Donc ceci pose évidemment énormément de questions aux praticiens de l'assistance électorale et nous sommes ici pour en discuter. Donc se trouve ici rassemblée, je crois, la meilleure expertise mondiale actuelle dans le domaine de l'assistance électorale et du lien entre élections et violence. Se trouve également ici représentés plus de 30 pays qui ont été, pour la plupart, confrontés ces dernières années à un climat de violence post-électorale.
The objective, and this is why it is innovative and very timely, after the Arab Spring and all the latest developments, is to try to identify or to come up and analyze with the entry points from a programmatic point of view to prevent electoral-related conflict while preparing elections and electoral processes.
I think we're better positioned because we have more experience in it, and we have been able to evaluate the root causes of electoral violence, been able to profile who the likely perpetrators are, project who likely victims may be, identify their motives, and then be able to develop programming to create countermeasures to these. So we're wiser as an international community as to what we're up against in terms of preventing or mitigating electoral violence.
Electoral violence happens all over the world, particularly in certain areas. So it is very good for all electoral management bodies to see how these situations are being handled so that they can actually go back and look at themselves and determine their own way of handling it.
When you put together top experts in electoral assistance and conflict prevention, learning one from the other, and being inspired in the daily job by people's stories, the result is that we are redefining the state of art of elections.
For the most part, what this really brings home is a reminder to the international community working of what are the realities in which these colleagues have to work. And so if anything else is the inspiration we take from the work they do, the conditions in which they have to do it, the challenges and the very difficult realities in which they have to deliver. We are there to assist to the extent we can, but we need to be reminded of what those realities are.
We have come to learn, not just to share what has happened in Kenya, but also to learn from what's happening to other countries and what the international community is doing to help election commissions all over the world and countries to try and stop and prevent violence in the elections.
Electoral administration is the job of national authorities, and we are there to assist, to support where requested, but only where requested, and not to impose any of our own ideals or indeed our own vision of what is the correct way to administer elections.